Alright, before we get this episode started, after you watch this, if you enjoy it, please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video and my channel. A big thank you to you for that. Now, here's this week's episode. Now, on past trail cam episodes over the last few years, besides providing trail cam photos and videos, I have also showed you in varying detail how I data mine those photos and videos to gather additional intel to break down the whitetail's tendencies into various data points to try to put the percentages in my favor for deer hunting season. So as not to be repetitive too much with how to analyze the data intel gathering, I've backed off a little on this season on that subject. Now, if anybody is interested in more detail on how it's done, there are detailed videos from previous seasons of trail cam reviews, and you can check them out. Now, here is a listing of some of the previous season's videos explaining in more detail how to data mine your trail cam photos and videos to obtain more intel on the whitetail's tendencies and break them down into data points to help put the percentages in your favor for deer season. Now, the first one is Season 3, Episode 16, Trail Cam Intel at the Vantagie Deer Camp. Number 2 is from Season 4, Episode 35, 2021 Deer Hunts, Trail Cam Review, Central Wisconsin Acreage. Number 3 is from Season 5, Episode 13, 2022 Whitetail Trail Cam Intel Review. And number 4 is from Season 6, Episode 15, July Trail Cam SD Card Review, Public Hunting Land in North Central Wisconsin. Now, the best detailed breakdown is the episode from Season 4, Episode 35, 2021 Deer Hunts Trail Cam Review, Central Wisconsin. So if you're interested in a more detailed explanation of data mining your trail cam photos to gain additional intel info, check these episodes out. Just go to our playlist at RO360, find the season, and select the episode for viewing. Now, my last video from this season about trail cam recovery and scouting info did not include how to break down and analyze the trail cam intel. And this video is just going to go over some highlights of activity from the various trail cams that I had out in various spots on this 255-acre public hunting land. So enjoy the whitetail and other animal adventures caught on my trail cams. With this being our first season scouting this 255-acre public land area, we focused on a smaller area for scouting as shown by these red and yellow trails. Now, we originally had 3 trail cameras set up, one at a waterhole location, one at a ridgeline overlooking a low valley area, and one at a mock scrape licking branch location, also on the ridgeline overlooking the low valley area. Now, originally these cameras were set up collecting intel data photos from July 29th through August 21st. We'll start out with a highlight review of the trail cam setup at the waterhole location. Now, when I previously set up this trail camera back on July 8th, I goofed up the timestamp by flipping the AM and the PM. When the timestamp shows AM, it's actually PM. And when it shows PM, it's actually AM. Now, just keep that in mind when viewing these trail cam photos from the waterhole area. Just remember, flip-flop the AM and the PM for the waterhole trail cam. The other trail cams are set correctly. I apologize for this inconvenience. After switching out SD cards at the waterhole area, the following morning brought the first action as this doe moved in for a close look at the trail cam. Within a half hour after that doe left, this nice 8-point buck came into the waterhole area, spending about 15 minutes eating and drinking while remaining constantly on alert. Then this doe cautiously edged into the area. The buck notices her, but really pays no attention to this doe, and they both are feeding. Then the doe disappears, and you notice the buck is instantly on alert, stomping his front leg and searching. Now a smaller doe moves in from behind the buck, but the buck ignores her and is focused, looking west, then south-southwest, then north. He is on high alert, looking in every direction. Finally, he takes a quick snack, then circles around the perimeter. Before moving off to the south. About 35 minutes later, a different 8-point buck appears. This big-bodied 8-point cautiously moved into the waterhole area from the south. Just look at the width on that rack. Suddenly, this confused fawn shows up. You can just imagine the fawn saying, "Dad, is that you?" This buck just ignores the fawn until it moves off wondering, just who is my dad? Now the buck glances back toward the fawn as if to say, in its best foghorn leghorn voice, I say, boy, it's not me." Anyways, something puts him on alert off to the north. Then he's looking towards the east in the woodline area. He doesn't know which way to look. He finally stamps his front leg. Then, sensing nothing, he returns to snacking on the undergrowth while still glancing to check his surroundings. Again, he stamps his front leg, trying to identify something that caught his eye. And finally, after this last photo was snapped, he disappears from the area during the 5-second delay between photos. On the evening of July 30th, starting at 10:41 p.m. and lasting until 11:21 p.m., for almost an hour, our trail cam captures multiple bucks around the waterhole area. Let's watch this sequence of photos of these nocturnal bucks and how they react to external stimuli off camera. Plus, watch their reactions towards each other when multiple bucks show up. Enjoy. Next, we'll jump ahead to August 11th, and in keeping with the viewers wanting to see whitetail buck action, I'm showing the vast majority of bucks on this episode. But watch this footage that took place over a period of about an hour and a half, and you're going to see some pretty nice doe activity also. Check this out. Later, at 1:31 a.m. early the next morning, this 8-point, possibly a 9-point buck, shows up at the water hole, spending about 20 minutes for a little nightcap and a snack. In the evening on August 12th, this tall tine 8-point buck made a brief appearance at the water hole. Then check out this group of young bucks at the water hole on the 17th of August. That's some of the highlights from the Waterhole Trail Cam. There's sure some nice bucks in this area. Now, there were over 800 photos taken over the span of 24 days from July 29th through August 21st. And this trail cam was now moved over to the ridgeline area for additional data info in the area my ground blind will be set up in for bow hunting. Next, we'll check the ridgeline overlooking the low valley area. This trail cam was set up on the north end of the ridgeline. Our first buck shows up at 7:23 p.m. on July 29th. Now, it's a little hard to tell, but he could be a 10-point with a small split beginning on the G4 end tines on both sides. I can't tell for sure. If not, he's a nice 8-point buck for sure. Then we have a nocturnal buck show up at 2:04 a.m. on the 30th of July. And he just walks a nice circle around in front of our trail cam. Now, this buck could turn into a 10-point, as his G4 tine on the left side appears to be wide enough to start to split, and the same with his G2 on his right side. If that doesn't happen, he's going to be a heck of an 8-pointer. Now, the same buck that appeared the day before at 7:23 p.m. makes a return appearance at 7:55 p.m. on the 30th, this time accompanied by a doe and a fawn. Again, I'm checking to see if the buck is a possible 10-pointer, but only one photo shows the possibility of a slight bump on one of his G4 tines. So the jury is still out. Hopefully we'll get a closer photo and be able to finally determine if he's an 8, 9, or 10-pointer. This possible 10-pointer is becoming a regular at this ridgeline area. He showed up again under the cover of darkness at 4:07 a.m. on August 1st. And again, not getting a clear close-up, I still don't know if it's an 8, 9, or 10-point buck. All I know is it looks like he's the one that's been working over the stump. It must have been a salt lick or something at one time. Now, even though I'm showing a vast majority of buck photos, that doesn't mean there aren't a lot of does showing up. So here's a few of the many big-bodied does that have showed up on the ridgeline trail cam also. Here's another nocturnal appearance by another buck that's hard to identify. He's definitely at least an 8-pointer, but could go as high as a 12-point buck. These photos are a little bit too far away to get a clear detail of his rack. Some of those wider tines could be splitting or about to split. It's another case of needing a closer photo to determine this buck's rack size. Now, here's an interesting sequence of photos. This small budding 8-point buck shows up and catches the big rack buck in the background's attention. but he stays in front of the trail cam feeding on the undergrowth. Watch, because you'll never believe what eventually happens. Unbelievable, as these two big bucks are like two dogs eating out of the same bowl, literally in each other's space and just feeding away. Well, it finally happened. We got a close-up photo of that big buck. It's at night, but I'm sure that I can see a split on his G2 and his G4 on this left side. Now that's 6 points on the left. Now the right side is a little more obscured, but I'm positive his G4 is split. And I can't get a good look at his G2 on the right side because of this angle. So I can confirm at least an 11-pointer. And if his rack is symmetrical, he's a 12-point stud. This is the #1 buck on my hit list. Now that completes some of the highlights from the trail cam at the top of the ridgeline on the north end. There were over 1,400 photos taken at this trail cam from July 29th through August 24th, a span of 24 days. And just like at the waterhole area, many promising bucks and larger does worked the trail areas on the north end of the ridgeline. Next, let's move to the Mock Scrape Licking Branch trail cam a little farther south on the ridgeline, still overlooking the low valley. Our first activity at the Mock Scrape Licking Branch area occurs at 7:21 p.m. on July 29th, as a doe is checking out the trail cam. Also note a second doe in the low valley background to the left of this doe. Then this 8-point buck shows up, moving through and completely ignoring this doe. But the buck must have moved downwind and caught the scents from the mock scrape and quickly turns around to investigate, still completely ignoring the doe. Finally, the doe moves off, and this 8-point buck is really checking out the scrape and licking branch. Then, at 9:15 p.m., under the cover of darkness, what appears to be a 9-point buck moves along the ridgeline trail and is curious about the trail cam. As he turns away, he picks up the scents from our mock scrape / licking branch and heads over to check it out a little closer. The next evening at 7:50 p.m., this 8-point buck moves through the scrape area rather quickly and then turns back to pass in front of the trail cam. About 15 minutes later, this possible 10-point buck is walking a trail along the top of the ridgeline. Over a span of 9 days from July 30th through August 7th, the trail cam at the mock scrape only encountered nocturnal bucks. Check out all this buck activity. daylight activity resumed on August 11th with this big body 8-point showing up along the trail. On the 19th of August, another 8-point buck appeared on the trail on the top of the ridgeline, making a complete 180 and heading back in the direction he came from. Then, on August 20th, it was back to nocturnal activity, as this 8-point came in to check out the licking branch at the mock scrape. On August 22nd, it's back to a daylight appearance, as this 8-point buck is on constant alert while feeding on some undergrowth. Now you can tell that he must be hearing the camera go off because he's looking directly at it quite a few times. But he continues to check all around. Finally, after almost 10 minutes, he moves off. On August 23rd, a couple of nice 8 or 9-point bucks emerge for a daylight appearance. The first is an early morning buck arriving at 6:18 a.m. He's a little skittish and leaves quickly. But the second buck, showing up at 7:39 p.m. that evening, takes his time to explore the area. Now, on August 29th, there is a nocturnal buck party, starting at 8:11 p.m. with this 8-point and 9-point buck, who are quickly joined by another 9-point buck. Hey, enjoy the show as the male testosterone starts to flow. Now, another buck party at the mock scrape resumes on August 31st at 8:33 p.m. as these bucks test their skills attempting to set the pecking order in the area. Check out this sequence of photos. And the last picks came on September 2nd and September 5th as this tall tine 8-point moved past the mock scrape on September 2nd. And then on the 5th, this 8-point took a scent check of the mock scrape. Well, those were some of the highlights from the mock scrape and licking branch area of the ridgeline. Now, there just weren't whitetail deer wandering around this 255-acre public land parcel. Next, let's take a peek at some of the diverse activity in the area of all 3 trail cams. First, there was plenty of turkey activity along the ridgeline area. Now, along with multiple food sources such as fawns and turkeys, yep, the predators start to turn up, and we had more than enough predator activity. Check out these photos. And then there was some human traffic as well. A couple of trucks and a Jeep doing some scouting, and a berry picker working their way around the waterhole area. I was also able to get a pretty good idea about who stole my SD card out of my trail cam at the ridgeline area. I believe it was the same person of interest that messed with my trail cam at the crossroads area. Now these photos show one of the same dogs he had with him then, running around my ridgeline trail cam. Well, that's it for some of the highlights on my last trail cam review before I start my fall bow hunts. Now, be sure to join us on the next episode as I sight in my crossbow in prep for my fall bow hunts. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.
Nothing wrong with that pattern at all.
Feel free to comment below, or if you don't want to comment in the public eye, we can also be reached at Rapant Outdoors 360 at gmail.com. Now, if you know somebody you think might enjoy this video series, please feel free to go ahead and share this video or this link with your friend. And as always, whether you fish or hunt, remember, practice CCR. Catch, conserve, replenish. Make sure that that resource is available for future generations. See you next time, guys.